Welcome, everybody. We'll give you a minute or so to roll in here. Happy September. This is our first webinar we're doing together this month.
Happy
First,
football season for the first day of the NFL officially tonight, right? Peggy, we didn't even get to talk about the
I
Irish.
know we don't want to talk about college football right now because I'm an
So,
Irish fan, so.
how are your spirits? I hope you're not too dejected. Are you?
No, but we won't talk about the O line and how a three-man rush can't protect our quarterback or any of that stuff. We'll talk about that later. So,
You know what I want to remind you, we were dead and buried last year when who did we lose to last year early? Like a somebody outside of the top 100. If it was,
yeah, one year we lost to
that was last year. We still did.
Marshall. One year we lost to Marshall.
I think that was last year, and we
Yeah,
still
we're
made the
talking about
playoffs.
Notre Dame if you will.
Yes.
Yes.
And they lost to a top 10 very good team. We are alive and well here. A lot of football. A
Yes.
lot of
Yes.
football. Yeah. So I saw a go Cowboys. Okay. Good luck tonight. You got your work cut out for you. So
Yeah, you have a major Chargers fan here in Carp because
the
his
Chargers. Well, I'm a Pats fan by born and raised, but
but by family,
by
yes.
family we're Chargers fans at the moment. So um all right, yeah, we'll give you another second here. Peg, you want to kind of ask your questions, then we'll get into housekeeping
Yeah,
and
yeah. So I know we have people coming from all over the place tonight. So pick I love emojis, one of the joys of life. So pick your favorite emoji and shoot it up if you've been on webinars with us before. You're lucky enough to hear Matt and I or our other pros before. So if you're there we go. If you've very nice. There's some in the chat too. Okay. So we've got some, we like to affectionately, one of the parents affectionately called himself a groupie. So we kind of held on to that. Oh, I love some of that. Nice emoji. Okay, great. Now, if you're new to us, if you're a complete newbie, give us your favorite emoji. Let us know if you're new.
don't be shy, you newbies. Don't be shy now. Look at how the groupies do it. All right, there we go.
There we go. All right. I like the celebration ones.
Come on, next.
Okay, well, welcome everybody that's new. We love to have our new people here. A bunch of you guys. Nice. And I'm sure there'll be more rolling in. So love it, love it. So we want to make sure we do our intros, Carp, since we've got a bunch of newbies here. But yeah, welcome tonight. We're making the assumption you guys mostly you're either a senior or you have a senior in high school who's about to by now, I think everybody's probably back at school, right?
Mhm.
Because we're after
Very
Labor Day here. So tonight we got action packed. We are going to talk about admissions and financial aid. Super important. They really go together. And there's a slide in here that actually one of our experts, JP Schmidt, you might have heard him if you're a groupie. It's his slide. So we'll give credit where credit's due, but I love how he tees this up. And so we're going to go over that tonight. Just the way to think about academic, personal, and financial fit. So important. But kudos to everybody for being on here. The knowing some of this stuff, you would be shocked at how many parents what I call drift through this. And I'm not saying that critically. It's a lot, and everybody has a lot on their plate already. Yes, this is being recorded, one of our most frequent questions. So, Charles, you are covered. So, we will send this to you tomorrow. If you miss something, you want to hear it again, you want to share it with your spouse, your child, friends, share away with the recording for sure. So it's being recorded. You'll get it tomorrow. So anyways, I got a little sidetracked there, but welcome everybody. By way of introduction tonight, I am here with my partner in crime, Matt Carpenter, one of the co-founders here at College Aid Pro. I'll let you say hi in a minute. I'm Peg Keough, the Director of Education. I have a background in the financial industry, started my own business focusing just on this. I have twins, which I always say is probably it's my tied for first credential probably. I'm an expert, but I'm also a mom and I've been through this and there's a me too. Love it, Kelly. That always happens. I get it. I get it from a parent standpoint. That's why I'm congratulating you for being on here, taking the time post dinner when you'd rather be chilling out, or maybe during your dinner time, right before if you're on the West Coast. So thanks for being here. We will respect your time. We will get through all of this, but follow along, stay with us. We know the journey you're on. It will be much less stressful if you know what's happening. We can support you along the way. Hang on till the end. We'll talk about how we're happy to chat with you about that, so that we are supporting you in the appropriate way on your journey, because you're literally, this is your last year journey, and there's steps in the journey, and I've been through them. Matt's been through them a bazillion times with his families. He's got a younger daughter, so he hasn't done it personally, but he has done it thousands of times with families. So it's like he has thousands of kids, right, Matt?
That's right. I have too many, too many,
So
too many.
why don't you say hi for a minute, and then
Yeah,
we'll
so
kick off
so
here.
again, I'm Matt Carpenter. I'm a founder here at College Aid Pro. To Peg's point, I've flown a lot of these college missions. I've been doing this for 20 years. So 20 years, I've kind of shepherded families through this process from the very beginning stages, which I know a lot of you are somewhere in that beginning stage, all the way off to moving into the dorm, through college, and then off to grad school, careers, etc. So that's our job, that's our obligation. And I think our one of the things that I say every day, some version of it, we like to consider ourselves a source of truth. There's so much noise out there, it's so confusing. Your coworkers telling you this, your neighbors telling you this, the internet saying this. You know what's the truth? We feel really it's an obligation of ours, like I said, to be a source of truth here. That's our job tonight. And we're going to try to take this really complex, overwhelming, anxiety ridden process and try to make it at least a little bit simpler for you all, right? So you can walk away with some action items. Stick around till the end, right? We're gonna stop at 8 o'clock. We're Eastern time. We're conscious of everybody's time, but we're gonna leave you with some tangible. Okay, here's what to do next. But pay attention here, because again, if you kind of follow along with what we're doing here, you're going to be a lot better for it, right, over the next 15 minutes or so. So.
All right, so let me share my screen. We forgot to mention, please put your questions in the Q&A. We'll remind you we're here. We're going to try and answer as many questions as we can. We never get to all of them, but I know some people have already done that. Matt already answered a few questions, so that's awesome. We love questions. Just put them in the Q&A. So I mentioned Matt's a co-founder of College Aid Pro. We're very mission driven. This last part of this is what I want to emphasize: empowering you to shop smarter for college. I encourage you to think of it that way. You are a consumer, you're investing in your child, and you're purchasing a product. So think about it that way. You are in the driver's seat. You should be in the driver's seat. You want to think about it that way. So there we are. Everybody got an email earlier today. I know some of you that have been in our ecosystem, been there, done that. That's great. You've already set up your MyCap account. You might be in our club in the premium version, good to go. But at a minimum, set up your free account. Matt's going to put the link in the chat. Super easy to do. Very few questions. They're not even financial based. Then you go and do that later to dial in, and you're in. Just if you want to click get started for free, if you decide to upgrade later, it's $4.99 a month. It's less than my matcha latte, my soy matcha latte, okay? Grande. So just get in the free version, and you can go from there. You can test drive, put in your 3 colleges, and you'll start to understand this journey that we have right along the top. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Matt, to first time we're chatting about admissions. It's exciting.
Yeah, so look, we're not going to belabor this slide, but we just have to imagine these are some of the questions you're asking yourselves, right? As parents, as students, and how the hell are we going to afford this thing? Should we apply ED? Do we send the test scores? Where do we start, right? So again, this is the point of tonight, right? Is to address at least the bulk of these questions. So if this kind of looks like you, some version of it, I promise you're in good company. That's part of why I like this slide to be like, if you guys are feeling like wildly overwhelmed, you're in good company. That is so normal, right? And you're in the right space, right? You're
It's
in.
actually would be weird if you didn't. There's a lot, but I
Yeah.
would say, you've got a senior, so for the financial, it's game time for the admissions piece and the financial piece. We can't put it off any longer, and I'm sure a bunch of you are in it for sure. But if you're just starting, that's all good, but just realize it's game time. So
Now I'm stealing this term here. This is not mine, but it really resonated with me, and I do my best to practice it in my own life. But action absorbs anxiety, right? So when you're feeling like overwhelmed and oh my God, where do I start? Like that, I don't know what to do. It's like take some action, right? And
do
that's what you're doing
something.
tonight. We're gonna do action absorbs anxiety. So lean into that. It helps me, right? Literally in my day-to-day life, and so think about that here. So and again, to further kind of complicate things, there's 4,000 colleges, right? And obviously, this is a representation of that. Uh, most of us are drawn to the colleges that are in our backyard or the ones that our kids are talking about, our neighbors are talking about, and that's we're working with this the very confined list, but that doesn't necessarily mean the schools that we're hearing about, right, in our ecosystem are the right fits for us, right? And again, we're gonna expand upon that, but I think that's an important meta level point that again, there's a lot out there. So this is to kind of oversimplify things. This is how we coach, and to Peg's point, we are stealing some of this expertise from the folks in our team that live and breathe the admissions piece of this first and foremost. But how do you find your quote unquote right fit colleges? And easier said than done. And like we just showed you before, and it's saying here, we have 4,000 choices. Where the hell do we begin? Well, here's our recommendation, right? And this is a pretty tried and true process. Again, it looks like we're oversimplifying here, but this is the progression that we firmly recommend that you follow. And for families that work with us, this is how we do it, right? This is how we actually do it in practice. We start with that academic fit, right? That's where you have to start with. This is what we're kind of doing first. And believe me, I am not. And we will get to kind of the cultural fit, the geographic fit. That has to make sense first. But we have to start here, and an example that we love to use, right, when we talk about academic fit, the most popular school in the world in terms of applications received is UCLA, right? Obviously, an amazing school. So we'll talk with tons of families, and they'll say, our number one choice is UCLA, and our kid's going to major in business. So that's what we're focused on. And we'll say, that's great. FYI, UCLA does not have business as a major. Okay. So we have to know, like, out of the gates, like, for the program that we're looking for, the schools that we are targeting that we think might be good fits, do they even offer it? Right? Are you a school like UT Austin that if you even want to have a chance of getting in, you have to have this fit to major concept, right? Your background in high school has to align with the major that you're seeking out in that college if we want to have a realistic shot at actually getting in there. Another thing that I'll say here that I think is really, really important, you want to be in a place where you are on a relatively equal playing field with your peers. And I have kind of a glaring anecdotal example of this, and I have a lot of them, but one that really just has always, made a big impression with me is I had a family here locally. I'm just north of Boston here, right? And so we're obviously very crazy about education here. And I had a particular family that I was working with. Boston College was a dream school, and we knew it was a wild reach. And right at the student didn't get in, got deferred, got waitlisted, and it was also going to be a huge reach financially. Okay, they eventually got in. The student got into Boston College off the wait list, and they went there, and again, that was probably had a lot to do, quite frankly, with some of the family connections. They were above what they were comfortable with their kind of natural talents, and all of a sudden their that particular student, the confidence, it wasn't a great experience, right? And all the confidence that they had in high school and just most of their life, it got completely taken away, and they didn't have a great college experience, and they floundered in their career, eventually landing on their feet, but it wasn't how it wasn't according to script. The younger student, the family learned from it. The younger student ended up going to University of Alabama, went and was in a frat there, did very well there. Went on to Wall Street and had an amazing career in investment banking. And it was just an incredible story of like you have to feel comfortable where you are. You have to feel confident where you are. Don't kind of overreach just because you think if I go to this school, I got it made in the shade, right? So I think that's
Yeah, I would just chime in there. The way that I say it, and I did this with my two, is your child needs to go where they're going to thrive. And it's not based on rankings. I'll say that again. It's not based on rankings. It's not based on reputation. It's not based on brand. People would say Bama's great if you're a football player. It doesn't hold a candle to BC and this, that, and the other thing. But that kid, that student that went to BC maybe could have gone to a Bama or who knows, another private school where it was a better fit for them. So I really encourage you. It's hard because everybody has heard of certain schools and they think they're the better schools and the best school for your child. And there'll be a few of them and they should apply to all of them is where they're going to thrive. So we got to
and
keep moving because you and we could do the whole thing on admissions, right?
100%. But to be even more crass about that actual example too, like, and because I still keep in touch with this dad, and this was 15 years ago, something like that. He's like, and my older son was a smart one. My younger son was the knucklehead, and kind of the end result was the opposite because they got in the
He
right
went where he belonged. It's not based on rankings. It's just not.
I'm not going to belabor this next one because we're going to spend
We're
plenty of
gonna
time
get
on it.
into that.
We're going to
Yeah.
spend plenty of time on it, but we're going to show you again within the next half hour how to guarantee that you're at a school that is within your budget, right? That is going you have a straight line to ROI there. But after we get into that academic fit, it becomes financial, and now it's personal. Now it's the less kind of these things of like, okay, do I want a big school, a small school? Do I want to be close to home, far from home? Do I want an open campus like a Boston University that's kind of baked into the city, or do I want a more closed campus that's a Northeastern or Boston College? I'm being very geographically biased here, but those are a few examples here. um and then lastly, okay, I want to make my top 10 now. Now it's top 12, it's top 15, right? That this list of schools is getting more is getting bigger. But the point is once you agree as a family what the right academic fit is, and then the right financial fit, and then personal fit, once we are aligned there, then you can tell your kids, right? And it's obviously more helpful, and we're going to get there with the tangible list. Apply wherever you want. Apply wherever you want because we have already decided that this is a pretty good fit academically, financially, and we know it's going to work. And then it has these other things that are important to you as well. Now go crazy. This is the approach we want to take, as a family as we're finalizing this list of colleges.
Yeah, because if you can dial in the academic and financial, even the parents, then if your kid wants a Greek system, do you care? As long as it's a good financial and academic fit, or they want whatever, football or whatever, then that part is their baby, and then they're part of the process. So it's a good way to look at it.
And so when we talk about admission strategy, that last kind of bottom part of the upside down triangle there, upside down pyramid, there's two strategies that we need to have dialed in from an admission standpoint as we're applying to these colleges. The defensive strategy are kind of the obvious ones, right? Like, okay, my GPA has to align with what this college is looking for. My test scores have to align if we're submitting test scores with this college is looking for. My my academic rigor right? So how many APs am I taking or not? You know, again, what I call kind of the really obvious, kind of tangible pieces of the puzzle. That's our defensive strategy, and that kind of has to be like day one stuff. What gets talked about less is our offensive strategy, right? How are we promoting our personal brand, right? Especially with these schools that are just so stinking competitive. Everybody has a great defensive strategy, i.e., GPA, test scores, academic rigor, extracurriculars, etc. Um, but how's your essay? How does your essay set you apart? You know, strategic extracurriculars. What order do you list them on the Common App? It's not common knowledge for most people that most admissions counselors office, right, that are reading your applications, they only look at the first three activities. So that is how you're going to be judged. So it is mission critical, right? The order in which you list your activities on the Common App. Um, Demonstrated interest. This one I think is the most overlooked and one of the most important when we talk about offensive strategies. Does this college think that you're actually going to go there if you're accepted? That needs to be a resounding yes if you're serious about that college. So there's kind of easy things like I'm going to take a tour on campus. I'm going to follow them on social media and comment and like and share and be engaged. And guess what? Your kid will have a score attached to them as a part of the admissions process based on how engaged they are on things like social media. And again, taking a tour of campus, etc. But you need to go above and beyond that. You need to find out who is your admissions counselor and develop a relationship with them, right? Make sure that when if you're a quote unquote bubble student during this admissions process, that you have some folks on that side of the fence that are advocates for you because they're I remember this person. They shook my hand when I went to their high school for the high school fair. They followed up with it with an email to say thank you. They called me to ask these particular questions, right? So this is what we're talking about with an offensive strategy. That again is overlooked but so stinking important, especially at these more competitive schools. Go ahead, Peggy. So we're going to talk about balance in a few ways, certainly financial, but also academic. And I'm sure you've heard these terms. We got to apply to our safety target reach schools. Safeties, we're almost certain to get in. Our targets, it's a coin flip. Our reaches, we're probably betting against it, but we're not spinning our wheels. And you see some metrics here, some statistics to help you actually decide, well, what is a safety target reach or high reach for my kid. And I'll show you in a second here how you can have instant access uh, to that at all the colleges you're looking or considering for in just a second here. Couple trends, and you can just put them all up there, Peggy.
I am. I
Yeah.
am.
So, I mean, look at obviously we're getting more applications every single year. We are getting more competitive every single year. We want to be hyper aware for the schools that we are considering, especially if we are considering a particular major. Does it make it harder or easier to get into a school if we are declaring a major or not? Because there is a huge spectrum to the answer of that question, right? So that is one that you just do not want to overlook because I think a lot of families think, oh, this is a safety or this is a target school for my kid. But if we're going into the nursing program or if we're going into the business program, that can wildly change the odds from both the offensive and defensive strategy standpoint. So that's something we need to be hyper aware of. Early applicants, guys, the data is there. It does make a difference if we apply early decision or early action at certain schools. Again, it's school specific. But if we are hyper focused on a particular college or colleges, applying early or not can absolutely have an impact on our likelihood of getting accepted or not. There's a common rhetoric now, or more popular rhetoric: test scores don't matter anymore. That's not true. That's the data is overwhelming. Test scores do matter. Now, listen, if you're a student or if you're a parent of a student that does not test well and is not submitting test scores, I do not want you to get discouraged. There are still tons of amazing colleges that are not going to prevent you from being accepted because you're not submitting test scores or you don't do well in test scores. But to say that test scores don't have an impact, number one, on admissions, number two, on aid, be it need-based aid or scholarships, is a myth, right? They do matter. Okay. And Peggy, I think this might be the last slide, and otherwise I can just quickly go into the. Okay, so this is just kind of doubling down on the test score point. Should I submit test scores? Should I not submit test scores? Again, this is why we're always like, guys, you at least want to consider talking to or working with one of our admissions experts for a lot of reasons, but this is a big one. To submit test scores or to not submit test scores. But what I'll leave you with is that I think most people think, hey, my kid's applying to 10 colleges. Should I submit test scores or should I not submit them? For 95% of the families that we work with, we will submit test scores to some colleges, we will not to others. It's so college specific and it's student specific, it's major specific. So, this is a very important question that you want to look at a school by school basis. Not I'm sending them to everybody or I'm sending them to nobody, because that is very, very rare. It is incredibly rare that we make one of those kind of catch-all recommendations to families that we're working with. But obviously, these are a couple more popular schools that, those that send test scores, it's a meaningful impact in terms of acceptance or not. So again, most of you have already created your accounts, which is amazing. Hopefully you're living there. If you haven't, do it the second, right? Peggy, if you could put the link in the chat again. But I want to show you a few things, right? We talked about, okay, our reach target safety schools and what percentage you want to be in terms of GPA, test scores, etc. What I want you to do right now is somebody throw into the chat, or anybody, your favorite college or what you're thinking about applying ED to, or maybe your alma mater. Throw a couple colleges in the chat, and we'll take a look at a couple. So I saw Duke was the first one we put in there. We'll do a deep dive on Duke here. So any college you put in there, we're going to show you their sticker price. That's nice to know, but who cares? You need to know what you're paying for it. So this family, and just like for those of you that have your account set up, you know what it would cost your family to go to Duke. Okay, not averages. If you get accepted, this is what you're going to pay. So for this family, they're going to pay 60 grand for the $100,000 college. If we want to take a deep dive, we can learn all sorts of things about Duke. But on the first page, the admissions page, this is where we see some of this stuff like, okay, here's the average GPA. So when we talk about target, reach, safety, etc., where do we rank there? Here's the average test scores. Okay. The middle 50% range, right? So as we're thinking about, do we send test scores? Do we not send test scores? For any college in the country, right, this is going to be front and center. So any school we look at, all that information is right there. Another thing that I'm just going to tease for you. We talked about safety, target, reach academically. You have to, at least we would implore you, you need to have that same mindset financially. And any college you put in there, we're going to tell you what it's going to cost next to your budget. And then we're going to show you where does it fit safety, target, reach financially. And this is just kind of a color by number graph. We don't want to caution, those are reach financially. And then here's kind of our target and our safeties, right? And so right there, and again, any college you put in there, we're going to tell you exactly what it costs specifically for you, how much you're going to pay if you're accepted in there next to your budget. And I just kind of put it again on this color by number graph and the affordability part of our platform. So you can see, okay, because we don't want too many reaches, both academically and financially. It's fine to have some on there, but we got to make sure we have some of our targets, right? Affordability and academically wise. And then again, rates and ideals, those are safeties, right? In terms of the financial profile. So we'll go back in there, but those are a couple of the places that we want you living right now to help you figure out, okay, should we send test scores? Is this a target, safety, reach school? And then same thing financially.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about financial aid. So we hit some good admission stuff there with Matt. So I know some of you have been on our webinars before. It never hurts to hear this one more time, and we're going to go back in the platform and get into some detail because these financial aid forms are going to be live to everybody very, very soon, in less than a month. So key takeaway in financial aid, which is why we exist, which is why we have our software, is all the colleges are discounting their cost of attendance, which is the tuition fees, room and board, books, travel, personal expenses. It's been going up for decades. We have no control over that. But you do have, I'm not going to use the word control, but you have the ability to understand how these colleges are discounting for your family. And that's why we exist in a nutshell. They do it in these three ways. You want to maximize these first two buckets of getting need-based grants, free money from the federal government, your state, or the institution. That's the biggest source, institutional grants. That's the college, the endowment, their money. You have to have need. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. There's also the merit-based scholarships. You could be eligible for need-based aid and your child could be eligible for merit. Merit has nothing to do with your ability to pay. It's solely based on your child and their grades and test scores and talents and sports. Somebody wrote into the Q&A, they have a child who's being recruited for sports. Like those kind of things can bring merit-based scholarships. So it has nothing to do with your ability to pay. And then of course, your child can work some to pay for school, as well as loans that can be taken out by the student, as well as the family, shared, co-signed, or just parent loans. So let's dig in on how this works, because these forms are going live, like I said. We recommend, and I already answered this once, that everybody submits the FAFSA, and almost every family should submit the CSS profile if applicable. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Very simple equation. Cost of attendance, that's sticker price, so we like to call it. When you submit those forms, something called the Student Aid Index, you still might see the term expected family contribution from the CSS profile school, so we left it in there. Basically, it gives them a starting point of what you can bring to the table. Doesn't mean that's what you're going to pay at all, which is why they changed the language. Student aid index doesn't mean much to any of you either, but at least it's not telling you that's what you're going to pay, because you very often will be expected to pay more. They take that difference and that's your need. $80,000 school, $100,000 school, which they're here now, minus 50,000 in an SAI EFC, you've got 50,000 in need. That's lovely. The next step is who's going to meet that need, and mostly with the free stuff and for your family. That's what you need to know. And that's where it gets really opaque how the schools do this. So let's talk about need real quick and how the student aid index is calculated, because you're looking at your MyCap account. We know a lot of you are already in there pre-webinar and then did it when you got the email today. And then hopefully a bunch of you have done it while we're chatting here. You can see your two SAIs right there on your dashboard. So that's assets and income. On the asset side, it's non-retirement assets only. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make. And I get it, because it's your asset. It might be your biggest asset. So, oh, they're asking for my assets. Well, that's my 401k. No retirement is included. So do not include those. Everything else is on the table. So stocks, bonds, CDs, you have a checking and savings account that you own. That's all parental assets. If you have been fortunate enough to scroll money away in a college savings account, the most common one is called a 529, and you own it, which is typical. The parent owns it. Your child's the beneficiary. That's an asset of yours. Okay. Write that down. It's an asset of yours. It's very important because parental assets are assessed 5 or a little shy of 6%. Assets in your child's name are 20 or 25%. So huge, obviously massive difference. So that's a key thing to jot down and know. On the main financial aid form that we're going to talk about in a minute, you only disclose your child's 529 that is going to college. If you have twins, I only put Brennan's 529 on his FAFSA and Shannon's on hers. And if you have younger kids, it's only the child who's going to college. That's a new rule from a couple years ago. So jot that one down. It'll say it in the fine print, but I think it says it in the fine print, but now you know. Okay. Grandparent 529s, any other 529s, they're not disclosed on this form. Those people are not in the household. If you happen to have a custodial account called an UGMA or an UTMA, that is your child's asset. There are strategies to get that out of your child's name. Jot that down. We're going to talk about how you can chat with us for free. That is something to bring up on that call. And we can't answer it on that call, but we can frame it for you. And that's a planning opportunity for you. Okay. So jot that down. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. Last piece with real estate, I mean, with the assets, is real estate. So you're going to have your primary home you live in. You might own it. If you're renting, then no worries. So that primary home, most schools are not going to look at it. We're going to get in a little bit more detail on that in a few minutes. Most schools won't look at your equity, your market value minus your mortgage or mortgages, liens. Um, all schools are going to look at your secondary real estate. So if you have anything besides what you live in, it's fair game for them to look at and look at that equity and consider it tappable to pay them for school. So that's how it works on the real estate front. Assets are assessed literally, if you want to be that organized and exact, the day you hit submit on the form. So a lot of time, you still have a month. If you're going to submit these forms in a month, you still have a month to figure that out. Income, on the other hand, is a 2-year look back. We call that prior year. So all of you are class of 2026. That means you're going to be reporting on 2024. It's in the rear view mirror. If you haven't filed your taxes, file them immediately. You need to get those in because when you get on the FAFSA, that data is going to move from the IRS into the form. If you filed the day before because you're on extension, it probably won't work. So you need to file your taxes as quickly as possible when you have kids in college. This is mostly based on your adjusted gross income. There's a few other add-ins. Parental income is by far the biggest driver. So if you're retiring, it's a lovely thing because then we can help you let the college know that and lower your SAI, but most people can't afford to retire to get financial aid. So keep that in mind. Kids' income is a huge part of this, but as you see on the slide, for most colleges in the country, your child can make over $11,000. That's this year's allowance for the kids that just started college, and it's a wash. So most kids don't come close to making that, even if they work during the school year. So not a big driver, but income for both parent and students and assets. But again, most kids aren't sitting on huge amount of assets typically. All right, so that's the SAI. Now, if you are looking, I mean, that's the need-based aid. If you're looking at your SAIs and you're like, all right, I get it, Peg. Mine are kind of high, and Matt and I have seen this hundreds of times through the years. Now if they're over 105,000, you probably have no need-based aid anywhere because there are some schools that are creeping over 100, right? They're 125,000. You don't have need-based aid anywhere, but remember that middle bucket of merit scholarships. That's going to be the name of the game for you. Few things to keep in mind around merit, and we're going to go in a minute and show you. We've got all the scholarships for all these schools written right there at your fingertips, a full database, so you don't have to go hunting. You can easily get to their website and check them out from our tool. So a couple things to know, and I answered this right at the beginning when I was in Q&A. Some schools, and this won't make sense, require you to submit the FAFSA and the CSS profile that we're going to talk about in a minute to qualify for merit-based aid. So be very, very careful before you say, I'm not submitting these forms. My SAI is 150,000. It's a waste of my time. You could literally be leaving, like at an NYU, tens of thousands of dollars on the table of merit aid, and you'll never know. So that's the first thing I want to tell you. The second thing, there are over 100 schools in this country that do not award merit aid. You see on the slide here the Ivies, NESCAC, that's Bowdoin, Williams, Amherst, that whole consortium of schools, the MITs of the world, U Chicago. It's just not part of what we call their business plan, right? They are excellent at meeting need. 100% in need. A lot of times, no, they don't even offer the federal loans. They'll use up their billions in endowment to give to that student. But there's no child on those campuses walking around with a merit scholarship. It's just not how they do things. That doesn't mean that you can't look at those schools. You just need to do it with your eyes wide open. You need to figure out how you're going to pay full price, write that full check, or you need to look at other ways to cover some of the cost. Last but not least, with need-based aid, this is thinking ahead, which is what we do for families that we work with, and always strategizing. There's a step that we're going to talk about in a few minutes called the appeal stage, and that's going to happen later in your child's senior year. And you can absolutely appeal when you have competing colleges that your child has gotten into and they've gotten merit from both schools. And we know the competing schools and we know the schools that offer merit and how they offer merit because we see award letters and we work with thousands of families. So Matt always gives the example, he has all these examples from his neck of the woods. If a child loves BU, they love the city campus, the T goes right through it, they love it. They went to Northeast, they're like, I don't like that. It doesn't have the city vibe. It's like apply there anyways, because down the road, if you get into both, we can play them off each other. And we do this. I've personally done it, and so has Matt, many, many, many times. And it can be very successful. Keep in mind, merit is almost always offered for all 4 years, as long as the child maintains a certain GPA. So a $2,000 increase in merit, that's $8,000 in your pocket. So these kind of forward thinking, strategizing things that we do are super, super important. And it's just something you don't, how would you know, right? You don't know if you don't know. So we'll chat on that a little bit later, but those are the key points around merit aid. So I'm going to stop my share here, Matt. And if you want to jump back in, you're muted, buddy.
I said I thought you'd never ask. So great questions, by the way. Keep them coming. A lot of them are really specific, right? Like, hey, which one of us, we're divorced? Which one of us should complete the FAFSA? How should I value my other real estate? How should I value my home? We had a weird year in 2024, right? Just talk to us, guys. I shared the link, and Peg, maybe you can share the general link for how to like book some free time with us, right? We'll put that in the chat now. Talk to us, and then we'll tell you next best steps. But we got to dig in a little bit. We can't give firm recommendations. It would be, malpractice to some of the questions that we're getting here. So look at, I see just about all of you now have created your CAP accounts, which is amazing. If you're one of the few that haven't, do it this second. Because at a minimum, here's your SAIs, here's your starting point, here's your financial aid eligibility. You don't have to guess. You don't have to guess. Let us do the heavy lifting for you here. But more importantly, you want to know, what are these colleges actually going to cost you? So we looked at a couple examples. I want to do a couple more because we looked more on the kind of academic side. I want to look on the financial side. Throw some more colleges at me. Right. Again, we're thinking about going ED here. Here's my, daughter's dream school. Put them in the chat. Put in the chat what your top colleges are, or you want to see right now. How
Endicott. That's a good
Endicott.
one, right in
Hey,
your
we love Endicott.
backyard.
We love Endicott. And if you haven't heard of it, this is an example of a great school that's, if you're not from here regionally, the mandatory internship program. These kids come out of here just so battle tested, and believe me, they pushed our company forward. We had another one in the office today, Peggy, and I have a feeling she'll be a full-time part of this team soon
Nice.
enough here. So here's a sticker price, right? 66,000, 44,000 in net cost. Why am I going to pay that? So if we want to do a deep dive again, yes, we have the admission stuff, but the financial stuff is our sweet spot. So if we hit this financial button for any college in the country, it tells us, well, here's the percentage of need that they meet. Here's the business model that they use. Do they use the federal methodology versus the institutional methodology? How generous are they with merit-based financial aid? What percentage of students get merit-based financial aid? This is nice, right? This is nice, but this is what matters, guys. This is for you. This is what your family's going to get. So yes, this is what the sticker price of Endicott is, But this is actually how much. Now, again, as you change your income, as you change your GPA, our projections are going to change in real time. But you want to know, what is this school going to cost me over the course of 4 years? For any college in the country, we have every single merit based scholarship that they have at their college, the qualifications for each. But we're really good at projecting this is what your kid is going to get, right? So you don't have to overthink this stuff. And then there's some context as to why. So all of this stuff is at your fingertips, guys, right? So there's really no kind of excuses to not have this information. Um, let's see. Let me put Case Western. Let's put that one in there. I like, and again, if we're snobs in the Northeast when it comes to education, so and we think all the best colleges in the world are right here, within a couple hundred miles of uh of Harvard. That's not the
I do
case.
not.
I know, Peggy. I am talking about myself. You know what a snob I can be. And I'm speaking for my neighbors here. But I am trying to I have spread the gospel to say, guess what, guys? There's something. Oh, you think the only great engineering school in the world is MIT? Number one, that's not true. Number two, it's impossible to get in there. Case Western is an unbelievable engineering school, and that's not all they do, of course. But this amazing school, right in the Midwest, very expensive, but guess what? They're great with need-based financial aid. They're great with merit-based financial aid. So we're going to pay $60,000 to go there. That's not cheap, but for an unbelievable school, let's consider that. And then again, here's why. Here's how they are with need-based financial aid, which guess what? They're just okay, but they're really good with merit. So even if you're a family that makes a ton of money, but you don't want to pay $100,000 a year for college, and you got a pretty smart kid that wants to go, major in engineering, guess what? You're going to get $35,000 a year discount. And again, I'm not saying it's cheap that you're going to pay $60,000, but again, you kind of get the picture here. Now, here's where I think is arguably one of the most powerful parts of our platform. As you're finalizing this list of your list of colleges, you see right here these we have dozens of filters. So you can say, hey, look it, my kid wants to go to a 4-year school. They prefer a smaller campus setting. They want to be relatively close to home, right? And they want to major in whatever. Okay. And again, there are dozens of filters in there. I can put all those in there and then I can say, I'm not eligible for need based financial aid. So just go sort based on who's most generous in scholarships, and boom, Dickinson College, unbelievable school, right? In Pennsylvania, very expensive, $90,000. But guess what? I'm going to get a huge discount regardless of my income because they're going to give my kid, a $50,000 scholarship. Or if I am eligible for financial aid, I can sort just based on that. And okay, well, yeah, like I said, it's impossible to get into MIT, but here's some other colleges that are unbelievable with need-based financial aid. So this is a premium part of our platform, so you got to pay $5 if you want to have access to this part of the platform. But this is how you want to build your list of schools to have affordability in mind. And then, like Peg said, and we got a lot of questions. Well, what are the deadlines? What schools require what forms, right? As soon as you tell us where you're applying, we're going to tell you here's what forms they require, here's the deadlines, and then again, here's your line by line instructions to these to these two financial aid applications. But again, those are just a couple of ways that you guys all have access to this at your fingertips. Please take advantage of it. There shouldn't be any surprises. There shouldn't be any, oh my God, we got into Pepperdine. And we can't believe what it's actually going to cost our family. So Peggy, maybe if you just want to take like 2 seconds to rip through the
Yeah, let me just talk about the two financial aid forms and then we'll wrap up because we did have some questions and I said we would do this. Okay, so the FAFSA, somebody wrote in and said, oh, they were able to get into the beta. They're in beta 2. You might be able to get in through beta 2, but it goes live to everybody October 1. You're going to go into the 26-27 FAFSA. I already mentioned it's going to be all about your 2024 taxes. I just responded to a question. If your situation, you lost a job, it's worse now, you're still going to submit with those scores and you're going to appeal. You should let us help you with that piece. We're very good at it. talk to us. I put the link in the chat already. I'll talk about that in a minute, how you can book some time to talk to us, and we'll tee that up for you, how that looks, because you're going to want to appeal. Key thing with the FAFSA, if you're divorced or separated, you're a two household family, the custodial parent is the only parent that submits the FAFSA with the child. The definition of custodial parent is the parent who provides the most financial support on a year look back from when you're hitting submit on the form. A lot of families are almost 50-50 in support and financial support of a child. This is a huge planning opportunity. The government, when they made this change, they left it as a gray area. You always want to be honest, but put your best foot forward. Have the parent that makes the most sense to be submitting the form, submit the form with the child. The other biological parent is not even in the mix. If you're remarried as a custodial parent, the whole household submits. So keep that in mind. And that's something we can talk to you about. Who's the custodial parent? Many families, many parents don't know. They need some guidance. So we can support you on that. Whoever's part of the FAFSA, the custodial parent, if you're married, one parent, married filing jointly, and of course the student need to get what's called a federal student aid ID, FSA ID. So you see the link here. Make sure you're on student. If you Google it, you should get that. Should be your first search on the search results. Make sure it's studentaid.gov. Just go ahead and do that now. It's supposed to be a real-time approval. It doesn't take 3 to 5 days like it used to. Just get it done. Set up your security question. That is the only way to get into the FAFSA. We are going to be guiding you on how to do that. Matt showed you in the software how we do that. We will do webinars. We can do all the heavy lifting for you on this if that is super appealing to you. So second form is called the CSS profile. So this is not done in lieu of the FAFSA. It's done with the FAFSA. If a school requires this, and I would guess most of you, if not all, your child has at least one school on their list, and we tell you right in the software, when you're on that financial aid forms tab that Matt just showed you, we tell you, do you need the FAFSA? Do you need that? Well, you need the FAFSA at almost every school. Do you need the CSS? You don't have to stress, oh my gosh, I don't know. Do I have to go to the website? We've got it all in the software for you. Goes live October 1. About 250 schools, mostly private, but there's a few publics, Michigan, UNC Chapel Hill, and a few others. Remember when I talked about assets? Home equity is considered by most of these colleges. It's not by the FAFSA schools, your primary home that you live in if you own it. This is a massive planning opportunity again, because a FAFSA school can be much less expensive for you if you have a lot of equity. And just to make it even more confusing, some of the CSS profile schools like Stanford have a philosophy, hey, we want this form, but we don't think parents should be tapping home equity. We're not looking at it. We have all of that information built into the software. We have tranches of how they handle home equity, and that's appealable. Let us help you with that. We can do it. Divorced and separated families, not just there's a custodial parent that will submit the CSS, same parent with your child. The other biological parent will submit a non-custodial profile. They both go privately to College Board that administers the form, and the colleges see both. So quite often that makes a big difference. There's a few schools that don't look at the non-custodial parent that require this form, but most of them do. So that can make a big difference. If your child unfortunately has a parent that it's not safe or for them to communicate with that parent, there is what's called a non-custodial waiver. If there's a legitimate reason, which we meet families, sometimes it's heartbreaking to me and I help them with it. It's well worth your while to do it and tell that college, hey, don't look at that biological parent for these reasons, but they have to officially waive it, or else you don't have a financial aid file that's complete and you won't get any of their money for their endowment money. Last but not least, business owners. On the FAFSA, if you have a small business, small family-owned business, less than 100 full-time employees, that value of the business, not the income, is off the table. They brought that back, so that's new for this year. So it's another huge opportunity for business owners. On the CSS, they're going to ask all about your business. They're going to want to see all the tax returns. So there's nuances, there's ways to submit the CSS correctly. It's a bear, it's a super long form, and they try and, uncover every stone about your financial life and what cars you drive sometimes and everything else in between. So it's nutty, and we can help with that. So we've talked here about several pieces of the puzzle on this journey. I keep using this word journey because honestly, it really, really is. I remember the first time I did it, and I was like, oh, I'm done. I got the forms in. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm not done. Now I got to do this. It literally keeps going until you're waving goodbye, right? And every family has different areas where they need support. Your child is different. Your finances are different from your neighbors that might have been giving you advice. So, our next step, both of us strongly encourage you. We are happy to chat with you to help you. And let me share my screen, and Matt will put the link in again. We're more than happy to chat with you. This is the page. You're going to get it. Go ahead and chat. You can schedule this. We're happy to talk to you for free. Just schedule it tonight by midnight Pacific. You're not obviously meeting with anybody tonight, but just get on our schedule. You can see we have a team of experts. We have a team of people that we've handpicked to do this. You want your MyCap set up. Most of you have that covered because this person wants to look at your situation and see, like, are you eligible for need-based aid? Is your child eligible for merit? And just try to identify opportunity. I'm a planner by background, financial planner. All the planning opportunities that your family might have to maximize and get more free money, or even plant some seeds in your mind about how to get money, even if you already know you might be eligible for certain stuff. And then we're gonna share how we can support you on that journey. We support families in many different ways. And so that's the best next step here. Just take the 15 minutes. And I know some of these people, they're not going to cut you off at 15 minutes. We would love to chat with you about this, and just you will walk away knowing, all right, we're this kind of family. These are the kind of schools. And hopefully you have the free version of the tool. You might have already upgraded, and you see how that fits in. And then a person here besides Matt and myself who could potentially be on the journey with you in the way that you need it, because some people, they need some help, right? And so we're happy to chat about that during that session as well. So strongly encourage you to do this. I promise you it'll be 15 minutes or a bit more well spent. If there's things that are going on in your mind based on everything we've shared, I'm sure they are. Your mind might be spinning a little bit. Jot down some, like a bullet or two, and let our expert look at it and kind of frame it for you.
Yeah,
Matt, you
and
want to add
yeah, well, I
anything?
mean, what I'll say is who you'll be talking to specifically. It's either going to be Kevin Murphy, Jason Sloan, Dan Maga, JP Schmidt, or Joe Korwalker. All right. I think, and these guys, I say that because these are not just hired guns. These are not sales guys. These are subject matter experts that will actually work with folks that want to work with us in a full-time capacity, which is not going to be all of you, right? But they will help you say, for some of them, they're going to say, guys, and you know who you are. You can even scroll down a little bit here, Peg. Like, you're a DIYer. So if you're a DIYer, just upgrade to be a part of our program for $5, right? If you're a DIYer, you know who you are. We're not going to put a square peg in a round hole. That's not good for you. That's not good for us. Take advantage of all that we have to offer for DIYers. Pay $5 a month. For some of you, it's going to be like, look at, you don't need help from now through every step until your kid moves in the dorm. You just need to book an hour with us, but you need a little bit more one-on-one help than just more than we can accomplish in 15 minutes, half hour, whatever. They're going to tell you to book an hour, and there's going to be a percentage of you where it makes sense that you make an investment where we work with you unlimited hours, like I told a few of you in chat, from now until your students are moving into the dorm, whether that's just on financial aid, whether it's admissions or whether it's a combination of the two. So I mean, Peggy said it. I don't want to be too redundant, but don't overthink this, guys. I started at the beginning saying action absorbs anxiety. Take some action here. So if you know you're a DIYer, go ahead and treat yourself to the 4.99, the $5, and upgrade to our full kind of DIY service. But and even if you are a DIY, book the 15 minutes with us, right? Book a time. That's your kind of action for tonight. You're a little bit anxious tonight. Book the time, talk to us one-on-one, and we'll tell you here's your next best steps, right? And again, this is we're not going to tell everybody we that you should work with us in a comprehensive manner, because that's not the right fit for everybody. But we will help you have a clear direction specifically for your family in a way that Peggy and I cannot do to an entire room, because again, we would make a whole bunch of different recommendations. So just again, don't overthink that one, guys. Book the time right now, and we'll tell you what to do next. That's all I got, Peggy. And look at, more importantly, most importantly, even, go Chargers, go Patriots, go
Go
Irish,
Irish.
go football, baby.
Go
We're back.
Irish. Now we're
You know?
behind the eight ball. Oh my
We're,
gosh.
we're past
Um,
look at, thank God football comes right after Labor Day, right, Peggy?
I know it
That's our
helps the busy season be a little sweeter. So
that's
again, I want to just end to say thank you for being here. Stay connected, and signing up for a free call is a great way to keep this going. Don't drift, because if you do, you'll sit back eventually and go, I should have listened to that peg. I have all this stress with my kid, my partner, whatever. Just stay connected. We're here. We'll be on the journey with you, and I feel pretty good that I know all of you got a nugget tonight, at least one, if not many nuggets that will keep you going on this journey, because it's a fun year with your kids. It's a fun year. Some days I wanted to kill my kids. I couldn't wait for them to leave, and other nights I'm sobbing in my bed. So, you know, it's a weird one. It's an emotional one, but you want to make the most of it, and let us play part of the role so that you maybe have more time to do the fun stuff. So,
stay with us. We're not
anyways,
going.
have a great night, everybody, and a wonderful upcoming weekend.
Bye, guys. Take care.